At MVUUC, we use the elements of stone and water during this sacred time. And you can start recording again. Please stand as you are willing and able and join me in singing hymn number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. And you can also follow along with up there or in your hymnal, whatever's easiest for you. Now Susan will do a reading for us.
This is a poem, When Death Comes, by Mary Oliver. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me, and then snaps the purse shut. When death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence, and each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it is over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it is over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I want to find myself sighing. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened and full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world.
I chose to marry amazement. I chose the other ideas first. I actually tried preparing for the worst. That's an oldie and goodie from my childhood. Interestingly, though, it didn't protect me from what could and did go wrong. Turns out I really wasn't imaginative enough. Beyond that, it was truly exhausting and depressing, remaining vigilant, focused on doomed potential futures. After I went through this phase, I actually tried denial for a while, and that got me into flat out trouble, not attending to the obvious and the necessary. Much later in life, I chose a middle way that I keep to this day. Aware of the valley of loss and pain on one side, which is always with us, and every gift and opportunity on the other, also with us. Then between them rests a middle way, a chosen path of present wonder, amazement, and gratitude. I served as a parish minister for 19 years, and something that I learned is, as the great Dr. Abraham Joshua Heschel said in his Yom Kippur essay, quote, "Scratch the skin of any person and you come across sorrow, frustration, unhappiness. People are pretentious. Everybody looks proud inside. He is heartbroken." From the inside seat of parish ministry, I watched apparently successful members and their families struggle with life-threatening illnesses, addiction, affairs, financial distress, and sometimes ruin, traumatic injury and accidents, dementia, death, even the death of children before the parents. Something which I will just never understand. It all can happen. I have been with people as it all has happened. And it was from this seat with them, as my teachers, that I learned I could never prepare for all the possibilities, nor know which ones to expect when, if ever, might become part of my personal story. Early in my ministry, I visited an older couple in the hospital. You must imagine baby minister me, 30 years old, no gray hair, not yet ordained, in a chaplain residency program in Boston, Massachusetts. The woman said to me, looking at her dying husband, "How could this happen to us? We were missionaries." I remember simultaneously realizing death is inevitable and uncontrollable, a hungry bear in autumn, and that no good works nor beneficial God offers immortality in this life. I also realized, looking into her grieving face, that there was nothing for me to say other than, "I am sorry. This must be very hard for you." Bad things happen to good people, and wonderful things happen to people who behave very badly. From this, I have concluded that neither I nor anyone else is fully in control. Rather, we are in a river of life, and there are floods and droughts and lazy days and seasonal changes. We can put up some guardrails, things like life insurance, health insurance. We can write wills. We can ask for help as often as we need it, even to the, quote, annoyance of others, whether they be financial advisors or medical providers or therapists, or just family members. But when the lights go out, when the hungry bear comes, we will not have prepared for everything. Attempting to be fully prepared is exhausting. It requires constant depressing vigilance, imagining future harms, and all that time spent in these thoughts separates us from the people and experiences present in this very day. It's a deadening way to live and a great way to ruin the possible now. A few years ago, I took part in a leadership program offered in my city. We were asked to do an exercise that I frankly hated. We were instructed to walk around to 30 people we had just met, look them in the eye, and say either, "I trust you," or "I don't trust you." I know neither the benefit nor the purpose of this exercise, and I certainly remember its multiple cringeworthy moments. Beyond that, though, and more importantly, I remember the response of one classmate. This classmate, the shortest man in the class, who lives in a world that values tallness, one who could be considered vulnerable given his size, who had to actually look up to everyone in the eye when he spoke, said, "I trust you." When the instructor later asked him why he did this, he replied, "It doesn't matter if I trust you. I trust myself, and I trust myself to figure it out." He changed the frame of the entire exercise to empower himself. Much later, I learned that he actually grew up as an immigrant in a biracial family amidst poverty and multiple challenges, and then made a series of mistakes like we all do, and he figured it out. He figured his way through. These days, he does not waste time remaining vigilant and worrying about the future. He chooses to name his frame and believes that when problems arise, he will figure them out. So he chooses to live loud and proud and have a lot of fun. It's a choice he makes based not on ignorance or denial, but knowledge, experience, and a commitment to the present. It's amazing to me in retrospect how one awkward exercise could teach me the importance of choosing my own frame. What I learned from all these teachers I just told you about is to love the now, to dig in deeply, to savor it, to make time for it, and family and friends and fun, building community, living into my own joy, relishing the unique me that will not be replaced. When I became a minister, I used to see this quote by the writer and literature professor Joseph Campbell everywhere I turned: "Follow your bliss." If you were alive 30 years ago and reading, you might have seen it as well. I don't see this quote on walls so much anymore, if ever, but I think Campbell was on to something. In the words of theologian and civil rights leader Howard Thurman, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. What makes me come alive is wonder, and I find it in the present, the eternal now. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a siblinghood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each flower, or each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. In each name, a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does toward silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life, I was married to amazement. I took the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I've made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. I want to be married to amazement. I want to take the world in my arms. I don't want to simply visit the world. I want to go out and submerge myself in its wonder. To do this, I must take one day at a time and live in the present, which, as I've told you, is not easy for me. But here's something I learned from my colleague, Bill Lund. It's an exercise he taught me, a walking, moving exercise. So whenever I go out for a stroll, you could do it. However, I consider these 6 things: sight, sound, smell, sense, sky, and stance. I look at my surroundings. I listen. I inhale deeply to smell. I feel the air on my skin, the sense. Is it humid or crisp or cold? I look at the sky and I feel my body, my stance. If you try this exercise, please adapt it to whatever level of mobility and sensory function available to you. And that, of course, varies for all of us and will continue to vary throughout our lives. I used to walk with my head down, actually lost in thought. I watched my feet a lot, generally thinking about the past or future. But with this exercise, I am in the present. I smell rain in the air or the decaying earth that lets me know summer is ending. I experience the quality of the air. I see the leaves drop and bud and flower again in the spring. When walking with me, one needs to put up with my shouts of delight while I see things and hear and touch and smell and feel. I notice how my body feels. Is it stiff? Is it flexible? Is it uneven? I check my stance and sometimes I find out I'm limping and I think, why am I limping? And then I do like a body check. Where's my body in the present? And at least once on every walk, I look up at the sky. Is it a clear blue sky or a foggy sky? Is it overcast? Or are there puffy evening clouds just letting in that last pink shaft of light? It's when I look at the sky that I'm filled with the most wonder. And I think of what a gift it is to be alive and how everything changes and nothing is given. Every walk is a new discovery, a new adventure, even if it is on the same path. And I am reminded that every moment passes, every moment, the bad ones, the good ones, even the great ones. This has taught me to be more grateful than for what is and to remember. So honor the now and give and receive love where I find it. I remind myself nothing is given and then reach out for what is now. I don't want to mislead you into thinking that because I choose wonder and the present, it is all wonderful all the time. I too have losses and grief. I worry about the state of American democracy and the war in Ukraine. I worry about deforestation and species extinction. I worry about armed rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo and how we live in a country, America, that has chosen to incarcerate Black, brown, and poor people. I worry about my spectacularly crabby, difficult, and failing mother. And while writing this sermon, actually in the midst of writing the sermon, I received a text from my sister letting me know someone very important to us had died. I too am scared. I too am heartbroken. 19th century essayist and philosopher Henry David Thoreau wrote about wanting to, quote, suck out all the marrow of life. Now, for him, this included living a quiet, somewhat self-reliant life. I don't want to delude you. He was into self-reliance, but he got a lot of help when he was living his quiet life on Walden Pond in Concord, Massachusetts. My definition is a bit different than his. I encourage you to explore your own. But I understand wanting to suck the marrow out of life in my own chosen way. I recently watched a video by slam poet Andrea Gibson. It's an older video. In it, They speak of going home with a woman, and before their first kiss, the woman runs to get a stethoscope so that Andrea can hear the woman's heartbeat faster as they kiss. Story is just so beautiful to me. What a delightful way to suck the marrow out of life with one kiss. I want to hear it so closely. I want to hear how your heart beats faster when we kiss. It is so present to the moment, so simple, so possible, so blissful, so alive. Here's a tweet from Andrea and Gibson from just this past week. They say, awkwardness is my new drug of choice. Nothing gets me higher than uncomfortable situations. In today's newsletter, I wrote about how I've been on a mission to embarrass myself regularly. Have a beautifully awkward day, everyone. Heart emoji. Her newsletter from September 13th contains this story. Years ago on tour in Europe, my friends and I dared our friend Katie to walk through a crowded travel plaza with a 20-foot strand of toilet paper dragging from her shoe, complaining loudly in a deep Midwestern accent about how there was no place in the world good as America. She made a humiliating spectacle of herself. We were high on that embarrassment for days. There are just so many ways to live in wonder and bliss, to be high on embarrassment, laughter, to be alive as the world collides around us. I hope for each of us that we take care during the hard times and are present to our true feelings about it, and that we reach for the present wonder as often as possible, maybe even experiment with humiliating spectacle and awkwardness. Maybe be curious and find some wonder. However you do it, I hope you make it a great day. May it always be so.
I sure like her. Oh, goodness. Let's see here. Amid all the noise in our lives, we set aside the next full minute to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on our pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. Please stand as you are willing and able as we sing hymn number 311, Let It Be a Dance. And I know this is one of Lisa's favorites. A short introduction, okay. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Do the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Hear the music, hear the word. Let your body turn and burn. Let it be a dance, dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance indeed. Child is born, the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing wrong, then nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance. Oh, goodness. Okay. Now, let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this church, which is important to so many of us. We gratefully dedicate this offering to the good of the church, the wider community, and the world. If you make automatic pledge payments, please place one of the yellow cards indicating this support in the basket, right, like Sue's holding up there. Let's see here. And if you want your contribution to count towards your annual pledge, please put it in an envelope and write your name on the envelope so that we know who to credit it to. Our closing words were written by Molly Fumia. To be joyful in the universe is a brave and reckless act. The courage for joy springs not from the certainty of human experience, but the surprise, our astonishment at being loved, our bold willingness to love in return. These wonders promise the possibility of joyfulness, no matter how often and how harshly love seems to be lost. Therefore, despite the world's sorrows, we give thanks for our loves, for our joys, and for the continued courage to be happily surprised. Please join me in reading the words provided as Matt extinguishes the chalice for us. We extinguish this flame to remind us love is the center. As we explore and rest, engage and heal, love remains the center. When all we can see is cold ashes, love remains. Now, before our closing song, we have time for a few brief announcements, and I have two to get us started. Today's the last day to fill out your music survey. There are copies out on the table in the social hall. I do have 20 turned in already, which I think is a great response. It's possible all of you have filled them out. But today's the last day, so put your completed survey in the basket on the greeters table. And secondly, during coffee hour, I urge you to introduce yourself to our very own jet pig in the social hall. The elite corps of UUA jet pigs derive their name from the values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. Our jet pig will soon be visiting the children in their religious education classes in the hopes that they will provide her with a suitable name. So I'll keep you informed of any further developments. Anybody else have an announcement? David, come on up here. You can all come forward, when you're ready to give an announcement. Oh, no problem. You're coming up here? All righty.
Just a reminder that Friday night at 7 is game night here. So everybody is encouraged to come and bring a game if you like, but we have games if you don't. 7 o'clock Friday night.
Okay. Any other announcements? Oh.
Just a couple. The first is a little bit more complicated, but I'll try to keep it brief. I have handouts for anybody who's interested in learning more after I sum it up as quickly as I can. So there is every year in Syracuse, New York, a conference called Building Beloved Community Beyond the Binary. They've been doing this annually in Syracuse since 2017. This year, they are live streaming their conference, and they are looking for host congregations. So this is broadcast by a UU congregation out of Syracuse, I should have said that. But they're looking for satellite hosts so that they can live stream the conference at these satellite host locations. And the hosts locations are asked to not just live stream the conference, but they're also invited to organize workshops or just opportunities for gathering for the trans community, the LGBTQ plus community more broadly, and the allies and if you call them co-conspirators in our communities, yes. So it's for everybody, for people to have a safe space who are LGBTQ and particularly our trans community, but also for allies and people who aspire to be allies to learn how to be more effective in that role. So we are considering being a host institution. This is going to be on April 26th. No firm plans have been made, but Kelsey and I will be talking about it after service, and I have some information about it if you are interested in learning more, so I encourage you to get one of these flyers from me. Thanks in advance, and my only other announcement is next week is potluck, so don't forget.
Are there any announcements online? Nope, nothing. Oh, board meeting, okay. And David was asking about blood drive. When is the next one? Oh, March 1st? Oh, okay. All right. And after our closing song today, we invite everybody to stay for coffee hour. There are snacks and beverages. Thanks so much for joining us today. Please stand and sing with me, Go With a Song in Your Heart. The music is inside the front cover of your gray hymnal. Short intro, yes. Very short. Go with the song in your heart.